episode 171, your 10-year plan in 6 months.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And we're starting out into another exciting week, really. It's a public holiday in Germany, so I think today's episode is take it as less researched. It doesn't mean, I'm kind of pulling it out of my ass, because I was actually someone to complete their 40-year plan in a few, much less years. But that's what it's about. In the very best episode, no, Jesus Christ, the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through wealth, health, and happiness. So now I gotta wipe that sleazy grin off my face, because today's episode is more meaningful than it is sarcastic. Well, its title, at least, right? So let's get into housekeeping, first of all, right? I'm going to get on your nerves every fucking day to embrace the fact that sharing is caring. So even though this episode may not resonate entirely with you, I don't know, perhaps you've already got your 30-year plan checked off the to-do list. But, you're thinking of someone that has difficulties focusing on what they actually want from life when they want it. And, perhaps they have no fucking clue what they want. They don't know where they're going to be tomorrow. So share this episode with them, right? You can either do so through your favorite podcast listening platform or visit theverybestpodcastintheworld.com, and under every post and page and whatnot, there's a bunch of social sharing buttons, at least the last time I checked. So now that that's off the 10-year plan list, well, let's do it like the 20-minute list, right? So why did I choose the name for this episode? Well, I came across this meme, right? And it had all of these bullshit motivator motherfuckers. They try to convince you that they have kind of the copyright on you getting wealthy, while picking your pockets for money, squeezing you for money to get your next fix of motivation, to then, spend it with them and not necessarily become more successful. But that's what these motherfuckers are about, right? So that being said, I actually reflected on this particular meme, right? And had this, I think it was this, well-built Adonis type dude sitting on the hood of, I think it was an SLS Mercedes or something, with the sunglasses and the bling watch and, the shebang, the total envy porn going on there. Quadro X rated, I would say, misleading you to believe that, the 10-year plan could be done in 6 months. And this doesn't go to say that it can't be done, but, 10 years is a shitload of time that you have to squeeze into 6 months, and then presumably, you'll be off and running and whatever not. Haven't met a lot of these people. There were some, along the way, interesting dudes and gals who, just by means of what the fuck ever, had a brilliant idea, executed upon it, and are now in the position to call themselves free, right? So let's start looking at for you to reflect. What is your 10-year plan, right? Mine was really, to start a business. That's what I did. I started my next business because the first one didn't really take off, not because it wasn't good, right? The clients I served, they were fucking happy as a clam. But it was difficult thing to pitch back in the day because what I was selling was way ahead of its time. And so I started, on another venture, did that. That was fun, and financially rewarding. And then I went into consulting. I never really anticipated any of those things to happen and of any of those things to be successful, right? You had outside influences trying to demotivate you, talk you out of it. Go to your 9 to 5, run in the hamster wheel. You'll be able to buy a house, when you're 65 and go into retirement, you're going to have it paid off. And then the motherfuckers from the government come to claim it back because you need to go into a nursing home. And, all of those assets that you have kind of, collected along the way are going to be gone, right? And you've got another, 20, 25 years of average life expectancy to live, and you live that in a box, medicated. And you're like, okay, was this it? What did I work for all my life? Right. So for me, like I said, never anticipated that it would come like this. I never had a 10-year plan. I rather had like a 30-year plan where I would continue to work, but on a voluntary basis. So if I had a shitty client with a shitty proposal, I would tell this shitty client that he's a shitty client and that his proposal and his project are shit, right? I wasn't, for the first 5 or 6 years, at liberty to do so because I was financially bound. So I had to take shitty projects, and fulfill on them and deliver on them, right? Not fulfill, deliver on them. And that pissed me off. So actually my 10-year plan wasn't to go into retirement and do nothing, right? Because that's this illusion that a lot of people have of something that just doesn't work out. I've been there, right? Between projects, when I was in consulting, keep in mind, I was still running 2 other companies at the time. It was insanely fucking difficult to just do nothing, to read books, which still is nothing. But, this concept of doing nothing is ingrained in us as something worth working towards. And when you get there, when you actually get there, right, you've got your, I don't know, I come from a socially democratic country, so everyone here has, an average of 4 weeks of paid leave per year, right? Doesn't include government holidays, which are plenty. But, I was at that position also. And when I went on vacation, I was like, or, when I had to take my leave, you have to take it, right? And then you take it and you, I don't know, I never had the aspirations of going to other places really. So for me, vacation was technically working obscene hours on autodidactically training myself, teaching myself, whatever myself, new skills, to adapt new skills. I don't know. Stupid situation was, I was working for one company and those fuckers had, made access to my personal email inbox. They blocked that out. So I was like, how do I work around this? So I took 3 weeks of my vacation to figure out how to build my own email server at home that would collect my mail from my, public mail server, route it over to a new domain, had my own mail at my house, and that kind of shit, right? You're still doing something, but probably something that interests you more than the fucking work you do. Now, recently we did the episode of where I tried to convey to you how to kind of, decorate and whatever your house that it feels like home. And that for me has always been the case. That's what I spent in, every shithole that I lived in, despite if it was a shithole or a 5-star hotel room, right? I still personalized it and I still wanted to feel at home, right? So that I wouldn't be tempted to, when I had the chance of being home, which was very rarely at that time in my life, to actually feel comfortable, feel safe, feel at peace, feel to a degree at rest, so that I could rejuvenate and then go on to the next contract. Now, how did we get there? Kind of got carried away there. So, at that point, it was like, what is this liberty thing, right? What is this freedom thing? And that's what we're going to get to next, right? So, but before that, I think we have to answer the question of how do you create a 10-year plan, right? With all of the stuff going on, particularly now, with all the stuff going on, everything's shifting. It's important to focus on a strategic goal. And I deliberately used the singular version of that term, goal, right? It's your strategic, where do you want to be in 10 years, right? Where are you now? And that's important to kind of manifest that and be insanely honest with yourself. It's not about what car you want to drive in 10 years. That's tactical. Where do you want to be in 10 years? What's your fucking goal, right? Do you want to be financially independent? Do you want to have family? Do you want to have a house? Do you want to be in the hamster wheel? Do you want to be, what's your general situation? What's your goal in 10 years? Right. And again, as I figured that out pretty early on in the game, because, of course you get shitty contracts and idiot customers. I didn't want that anymore, right? So my 10-year goal was to be in a position where I could tell the customer to just fuck off because his project was stupid, right? And I made it. Lo and behold, I was in a position where I didn't have to bend over to be, ass raped by a customer with a shitty project. And that was a dream, right? Because I realized very early on that you don't ever do nothing, right? You still do something, when, you're still having experiences, whatever they may be, right? And that's kind of like weeding out the negative experiences out of your life. It puts you in that liberty, puts you at that liberty, whatever. So the strategic goal is important, right? Where do you want to be? Then we need to weed out all the unnecessary stuff. Like I said, it's not about the car. Is it really necessary to mention that you want to have a trophy wife? It's like you spend a shitload of time looking for that. And then, you get this mean bitch, or vice versa. You get this douchebag that, doesn't necessarily coincide with your life goals, but, he's got a really, really nice ass. Ladies, that's the same thing we dudes have fallen for ages, right? And so that's, not something that should go into your, strategic planning, right? If it includes financial aspects, be prepared to hustle. Now, I mentioned that repeatedly on this show, and I can only beg you to go back to episode 40, where we spoke about financial independence, or financial freedom, actually. It was a hands-on approach to actually, start turning time into money, right? And ideally, you'd be multiplying that by, having an online business, for instance, which actually produces decent sales. Right. But so I'm not going to go into that. Right. But what do you, if you have financial goals in there, if you say, I want to be a millionaire in 10 years, and that's doable, very doable. Be prepared to get your ass off the couch, to stop watching YouTube videos, to stop binging Netflix, to stop getting wasted on the weekends. Be ready to invest that time. and or to turn that time into actual valuable money, right? You have to realize that the younger you are, the more energy you have, right? Every day that passes takes away part of your energy, or of your dynamic, let's put it that way, right? Takes away part of your life that you haven't invested into your strategic goal, into your 10-year plan, right? And the older you get, the more difficult it's going to get for you to, deliver those kind of things that require a lot of energy, because you're just going to have less of it. It's a matter of fact. I just reflected on it a few days ago when, we were having, a bit of whiskey, and I was contemplating on how hammered I would be at age 25, and get up next morning. Nothing happened, went to work, looked passable, and then just chugged away. That wouldn't happen anymore. Today, after a bottle of whiskey, I'm probably dead for 3 days or more. This is 15 years later. Well, 16. Let's be honest to ourselves. And in that sense, it's like, you have to use the time that you have in young years because you're just more agile, more dynamic. You're way better at learning. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It doesn't work, or hardly does. And, those are the very key aspects of that. Now, if it includes freedom, however, however you define that, and you're going to have to be very, 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 and insanely self-critical of what your definition of freedom is. Is it what I just mentioned, or is it something entirely different, right? Perhaps financial freedom perhaps freedom for you is, that you are so fucking wealthy that nobody can touch you, or hardly anyone can, right? That you crash with your buddies at a hotel room, ruin it, and, the hotel sends you an invoice or bill over $150,000 for renovation. And you're like, okay, here's the checkbook, done. Easy peasy. Right. And if you want to be in that position, fine. But then again, be willing to invest shitloads of time into getting there. Right. And it's about canceling out a lot of the distractions that are going on in your life. So that's the point, actually, of this entire episode. We're wasting shitloads of time of our life doing stupid shit. Let's be real about it. I do it. You do it. Everybody does. We trick our mind into actually believing that we do that to relax. But let's face it, if I'm standing on the balcony, sitting on my chair, on my recliner, looking at my yard, drinking my espresso, having a cigarette, and scrolling through Facebook, nothing fucking productive happens. There's an algorithm that's really, really, really valuable, and it's really, really, really trying hard to get my attention and to keep my attention as long as fucking possible. So, I'm not 1 cigarette later, I'm 3 cigarettes later, right? And I'm 2 espressos later, not 1. And all of a sudden, half of an hour is gone. And that has happened to me in the past really, really, really often, despite the fact that I don't really have stress in my life anymore. But it does happen, right? So it's about really making your life more efficient. And we've done several episodes of that. Write me an email if you want a list of them. How to make your life more efficient. And it's about really weeding out all of the distractions that are going on in your life. And yes, I know it's insanely comfortable and very much easier to go into the night having watched, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes of your favorite show on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or whatever. But you could have used that time to network, to talk to friends, to send emails, to your contacts. Just ask them how the fuck they're doing. It's insanely important. By the way, haven't done that in a while. And that's how in an ideal world, which we're not in, this ain't Canada, you're going to get down to, maybe 2 years, 3 years of your 10-year plan. Because if you reflect back on the episode, you only have 78 years. There's really a lot of time that we waste. And there's a lot of time that we use, which could be made more efficient. That's the bottom line. So in that sense, I hope you have a successful Monday. And if you've already had a successful Monday, have a good night. Leave your hands above the blanket. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, folks.